Today is Monday, the 1st of September, 2025. In our interconnected world, the peace and stability of our neighbors are not just distant news headlines, they are matters that can directly affect our own lives here in the Philippines. While our nation faces its own set of challenges, a simmering tension thousands of kilometers away between two fellow Southeast Asian nations, Cambodia and Thailand, warrants our close attention. The possibility of a renewed conflict between them, however remote it may seem, carries with it a ripple effect that could reach our shores. Understanding this potential crisis is not an act of fear-mongering, but one of responsible citizenship. The question on many minds is straightforward. Could the Philippines be drawn into a new war in Southeast Asia? The answer is complex, layered with diplomatic obligations, economic realities, and the unpredictable nature of international disputes. A direct military involvement may seem unlikely, but the entanglement could come in many other forms. We are bound to our neighbors through treaties, trade, a shared vision for a peaceful and prosperous region under the banner of ASEAN. When one member of this family is in crisis, the entire household feels the strain. To understand the tensions of today, we must first journey back in time. The relationship between Cambodia and Thailand, or Siam as it was formerly known, is one of long cultural exchange and intense rivalry. For centuries, their kingdoms vied for dominance in mainland Southeast Asia. The powerful Khmer Empire, centered at Angkor, once held sway over territories that include parts of modern-day Thailand, Sukhothai, Ayutthaya. They expanded their influence often at the expense of their Khmer neighbors. These shifts left overlapping claims and deep-seated national pride and historical grievance. This history is etched into national consciousness. The past is not distant. It is a living presence in the relationship between these neighboring kingdoms. An issue over land is never just territory. It is about defending national honor. Modern borders were largely demarcated under French colonialism in Indochina. These colonial-era maps and agreements are now a major source of contention. Thailand argues the demarcation process favored the French and Cambodia. Differing border interpretations arise especially in remote, densely forested areas without clear markers. When politicians invoke these narratives, they tap deep public emotion. De-escalation is hard when compromise can be framed as betrayal of history. These histories fuel passionate, sometimes volatile nationalism, an insult to ancestors who defended the borders. At the heart of the modern Cambodia-Thailand dispute lies a stunning architectural marvel, the Preah Vihear Temple, an ancient Hindu temple dedicated to the god Shiva, built during the height of the Khmer Empire. Perched atop a high cliff, it offers breathtaking views of the Cambodian plains below. The temple sits on a promontory with a gentle slope leading up from the Thai side and a steep cliff on the Cambodian side. Access was historically easier from Thailand, complicating sovereignty claims. The dispute was brought before the International Court of Justice in The Hague. In a landmark 1962 ruling, the court decided the temple itself was under Cambodian sovereignty. The judgment relied on maps made by French and Siamese officials in the early 1900s. Cambodia celebrated the verdict. Many in Thailand received it with disappointment and never fully accepted it. The 1962 ruling did not clearly demarcate the surrounding border. A 4.6 square kilometer patch of land adjacent to the temple remained disputed. Both countries continued to claim the area, and soldiers were stationed in close proximity. Tensions flared in 2008 after Cambodia applied to list Preah Vihear as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, sparking protests. Between 2008 and 2011, this tension erupted into brief but deadly military clashes. There were casualties and thousands displaced. Parts of the ancient temple were damaged, drawing international condemnation. In 2013, the ICJ reaffirmed its 1962 judgment and clarified the promontory was under Cambodian sovereignty. But deep-seated emotions mean the potential for future conflict remains. While the Philippines is not a direct neighbor to Cambodia or Thailand, our economies are deeply interwoven through the fabric of ASEAN trade and investment. A conflict between these two nations would send immediate shockwaves through regional supply chains. The Philippines imports a wide range of goods from both countries, including electronics, automotive parts, and rice. Thailand is one of the world's largest rice exporters. Any disruption to its production or shipping could hit Philippine food security. A sudden scarcity could spike rice prices in local markets, squeezing the daily budget of millions of Filipino families. These are tangible impacts on household budgets. Beyond trade, the biggest economic risk is the welfare of our overseas Filipino workers. Thailand hosts a sizable community of Filipino professionals, skilled workers, and their families. In a full-blown conflict, their safety would be paramount. The Philippine government would face immense logistical and financial challenges to mount a mass evacuation. That would cause a sudden loss of livelihood for thousands and halt remittances families rely on. A war in mainland Southeast Asia would also severely damage investor confidence across the region. Businesses would be hesitant to invest, planned investments could be paused or canceled. Perceived instability could trigger capital flight, weaken the Philippine peso, and send the stock market downward. Travel advisories would discourage tourists, and multi-country tours would be deterred by the perception of war. Fewer visitors would mean declines for beaches, hotels, airlines, and small tourism-dependent businesses. The economic tremors from a distant conflict could be felt across many sectors of the Philippine economy. In our globalized world, no nation is an island. A conflict between Cambodia and Thailand would place the Philippines in an incredibly delicate diplomatic position. As a founding member of ASEAN and a nation that champions a rules-based international order, the Philippines would be expected to take a principled stand. However, taking a stand is fraught with peril. Siding with one country over the other would inevitably alienate the second, potentially damaging long-term bilateral relations, security cooperation, and economic partnerships. Our government would have to walk a tightrope, advocating for peace and international law without appearing to favor one side. This requires immense diplomatic skill and careful maneuvering. The security implications extend to our treaty obligations and regional commitments. The Philippines is a signatory to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, which binds members to non-interference and peaceful settlement. A war between two signatories would be a fundamental breach of this treaty. The response would likely be diplomatic, consuming significant political capital. It would divert focus from other pressing national security concerns, such as the West Philippine Sea. A regional conflict could create a power vacuum or invite larger external powers to increase their influence. This increases the risk of miscalculation and entanglement. The humanitarian dimension would present a direct challenge. Beyond evacuating citizens, a war could create a refugee crisis. The Philippines could be called on as part of a regional effort to provide humanitarian assistance. This is a moral obligation, but would also strain national resources and the security apparatus. The military and Coast Guard could be tasked with humanitarian missions while protecting maritime territories, stretching capabilities further. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, would be the primary forum for managing a crisis between Cambodia and Thailand. The bloc's identity is built on maintaining regional peace through dialogue and consensus. A conflict between two members would represent the most severe test of the ASEAN way: non-interference, consultation, and avoiding confrontation. Those principles can hinder decisive action or enforcement. ASEAN lacks a standing peacekeeping force and cannot impose binding sanctions. Its power lies in persuasion and leveraging collective political will. During the 2008-2011 clashes, Indonesia, as ASEAN chair, took the lead in brokering a ceasefire and dispatching observers. ASEAN can dispatch observers and envoys to de-escalate tensions. The Philippines would be expected to play a constructive behind-the-scenes role, drafting statements and pushing for envoys. This would involve quiet diplomacy with both Bangkok and Phnom Penh to encourage de-escalation. Ultimately, a Cambodia-Thailand conflict forces ASEAN to confront whether it can evolve into a political and security community. A failure to manage the crisis would damage ASEAN's credibility and marginalize it in regional security matters. Conversely, successfully mediating a peace deal would be a landmark achievement for the ASEAN way. It would strengthen the bloc's centrality and the regional architecture. For the Philippines and all members, the stakes go far beyond a bilateral dispute. They touch upon the viability of the regional order they have spent over half a century building. The simmering dispute between Cambodia and Thailand, rooted in centuries of history, may seem like a distant problem. But the world is smaller than we think, and regional stability is not something to take for granted. A conflict centered on sacred sites like Praia Vihayar could have clear and tangible risks for the Philippines. It could affect the price of food, the safety of our kababayans abroad, and the health of our national economy. These are not abstract concepts. They are bread-and-butter issues affecting daily lives. The safety and livelihood of our kababayans working abroad would be at stake. It would force the Philippines into a difficult balancing act, upholding international law without alienating friends. In the face of these risks, the Philippines must be proactive. This means strengthening diplomatic efforts within ASEAN, maintaining open lines with both Cambodia and Thailand, and urging adherence to international law. At home, develop robust contingency plans to ensure food security and protect supply chains. Guarantee the safety and well-being of our overseas workers, and prepare emergency response capabilities. Preparedness is our best defense against the uncertainties of a volatile world. Staying informed, understanding the risks, and supporting a foreign policy that champions dialogue are part of our duty as citizens. We must hope for peace, but be ready for any eventuality. Ensuring a peaceful and stable region is essential for securing a safe and prosperous future for ourselves and for the generations of Filipinos to come.